All right, good. All right, so this is, as you can see, this is Introduction to Operations Management and Supply. This topic is Introduction to Operations Management. And let's begin with a few companies. I know I can, add more companies and see each company has maintained some way to excel in its operations. Something they have done differently. Look at Honda and Toyota, especially Toyota, for example, Toyota production system, lean manufacturing, short design to market cycle, meaning, they can design a product quickly and, from concept to actual production. Now they can do it in a year and a half. At one time, companies used to spend multiple years, like 5, 6, 7 years to design a brand new car from concept through various stages of design, prototype, testing, and all those kinds of things. They used to take 7 years. They used to spend multi-billion dollars, not million. I'm sorry, I'm going to be coughing a little bit. Multi-billion dollar, and that means they have to sell a lot of cars to recover their initial fixed cost. Honda and especially Toyota, they came with this complete shift in quality improvement, lean manufacturing, shorter time duration for designing the product, and so on. So they excelled in that area. Apple is successful. Its core is basically, Apple is very successful. About 50% of the market share in the US in cell phone market belongs to Apple. I'm sure half the class here will have Apple phone. Although some of you who know me that, I hate Apple, not because it's a bad product. I hate Apple because they try to make money off you. I mean, for stupid little things. I gave up on Apple iPhone. I think it was iPhone 4 or 5. I can't remember. That was the last one I purchased. And I said, I'm not going to buy any more Apple product because I was so mad. I had to buy. Yeah, so some of you may know, Apple used to have a 30-pin connector, 30 pin. And then they switched to 8-pin connector, reversible. Remember that? Anyone remembers that 30-pin broad connection? Yeah, some of you I see. Okay. So when I got the Apple i5, I think i5, that was the first one. All of a sudden, all the music system at home, all the docks were useless because the 30-pin connection versus the 8-pin. And I said, oh my goodness, that's bad. So anyway, I got on eBay and I found an adapter which converted from 8-pin to 30-pin so I can play music and so on my dock and listen to podcasts, news, whatever. I did that. I bought the thing, $4.95 delivered from eBay. The product came, $5, connected, and it didn't work. The only thing I saw, it was charging the phone, but it was not playing the music or audio. So I went to complain on Apple, on eBay from that guy. And I looked up and I said, oh, this guy has in clear red letters that this is only for charging. It will block the audio. And you know why? Because Apple put a special filtering chip in their adapter, meaning third party could not make an adapter. That means I had to pay $49.95, or I think it was $39.95 to buy the adapter. And that was the last $39.95 I paid to Apple. And I said, no more. I was so mad because, when you have changed these things, I thought, oh, by the way, you will need the adapter. It's in the box. Then they, kept their phone charger different. Fortunately, now they have been forced and they are now up to date. They are using USB-C charger, right? The latest phones, they don't use their, the lightning charger anymore. Anyway, but in spite of my hatred for Apple products, because of that anger which I'm still carrying, I have to admit, they make good products. They have strong following, right? There are people who swear by it and they do crazy things like if you are communicating and someone sends message to you It will not be in green color, but it will be in blue color, and people will know you are not using Apple operating system, right? Don't they do something like that when you are communicating, and they send it in different color? They do that, right? And it's like they are putting pressure on people to just buy Apple product, peer pressure. Anyway, but their success really is in strategic sourcing. How they are sourcing different things, different parts, different components from US companies, from China company, and getting it made somewhere else. And they are very strong in design. By the way, they also think that you're an idiot. You're incapable of giving them any idea for product improvement because they know it the best. They believe in engineering excellence, and that's their forte as well. Okay, engineering. They want to wow the customer by their superior design. And for that, they are willing to spend a lot of money in good design. Walmart has excelled because of their excellent distribution system. Their warehousing and DCs, distribution centers, they're excellent. Of course, they are getting competition a lot lately, not lately, but for quite a bit from Amazon, because Amazon should be in this list also, because Amazon really their websites, they are so good. I mean, sometimes on Walmart it's clunky. I mean, it feels like that, it doesn't move quick enough. Amazon website, you go there, you want to look at the product, it loads quickly. Remember, they have only a few seconds, like 6 or 7 seconds to capture your eyeballs. And if they miss that opportunity, you may go somewhere else. You may surface, move on. And that's Amazon's forte. They're really, really very good. And making sure that the product pages refresh quickly, all the information is there, easily placing an order is easy, and so on. But Walmart's, they were excellent in distribution system, and they use something known as everyday low price, no sale, not really sale. They have promotions, and because when they don't have sale, then what it means is that they have now reduced the fluctuation in demand. I have no reason to go to Walmart and buy 2,000 diapers or whatever product. Okay, a family can buy whatever they need for immediate consumption. Unlike when Giant Eagle has sale on toilet paper, people buy toilet paper as the world is going to end. They buy hundreds of like packets and packets of thing, and then they will not buy, and that is not good for retailers. If it is uniform demand throughout, you will have easier time managing your inventory, how much display, how much space to use, and so on. If you have a lot of fluctuation in demand, then you will have to maintain a lot of inventory. I'll explain this topic a little bit more later on, but let's take a simple example. If suppose I was, selling one item every day, just make up some item. I sell this pen and I sell one every day. Whereas Preston also sells the same product. He's my competitor. Okay. He also sells the same product. You know what it is? It's a pen for writing on my computer. He sells the same product, but his customers are crazy. Sometimes they come and they buy 10 of these. Some days, for days, they don't come and buy. Some days he will sell 3, but on an average, he also sells one item every day. I'm selling one item every day. My customer come, buy one, come back again next day, buy one. Who will have easier time managing inventory, safety stock, and those kinds of things? Will I have easier time, or Preston will have easier time? What do you think, guys? Preston?
I might have misheard the example, but the person with more consistent orders is easier to keep lean.
Exactly. I mean, I was giving my example where I was selling one item every day, no fluctuation. I will not have any surprises. I don't have to maintain safety stock. Okay. But your case, Preston, someday you have 10. Someday you sell nothing. Someday you sell one. Now, what should be the reorder? How much inventory should you maintain? Should you maintain? I say, well, I can buy 5 items from the wholesaler. I can sell it for the week, 5 days. Preston, never know. Next 3 days, there might be demand for 30 of them. And then no demand. So Preston has to maintain a lot more inventory. So think about that idea. And now think about Walmart. By having this everyday low prices, what they did is they removed the incentive to buy a lot and then not buy. Does that make sense? Are you following? They will have easier time managing all their distribution, inventory, warehousing, and all that stuff. Then McDonald's is another one. I mean, McDonald's is very successful company all over the world. I don't know, maybe their number has gone up to 30,000 different locations all over the world, and they have really emphasized on improving their operations, location, layout, supplier development is a big deal. They want to make sure that they want to have consistent quality. So wherever they go, so when they went to Moscow and opened their first McDonald's in the 90s, they wanted to make sure the bread they get, the meat they get is all same good, consistent quality that they get anywhere else. Okay. And that took them 5 years to develop that network. But of course, their focus is also on QSCV, which stands for quality, service, cleanliness, and value. Okay, that was their focus. Of course, over the time period, McDonald's has evolved. Now they are going into newer markets. At one time, their approach was, this is what we sell in the US and this is what I will sell in Moscow or Turkey or wherever they go. And that will not work because customer taste, etc., is very different. Okay. Now think about it. For me as a vegetarian, I hardly have a choice. I don't get much in McDonald's, at least in the US. But when I visit India, guess what? The hamburger is not on the menu because beef is not sold in India, correct? People from India who are in this class, Rishi, is that correct? Burger is not. Hamburger, the traditional hamburger is not on the menu. So they
Yeah,
have evolved. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's correct. I have experienced that.
You have experienced it, right? Okay. And they have a lot of vegetarian choices because large population of India is vegetarian. But they have chicken and mutton and those kinds of things. I don't know if they have mutton, but chicken, yes, fish, and a lot of vegetarian choices, but different choices, different tastes. So they have evolved. At one time, this was a problem with the American companies that they just said, this is what we'd make and this is what we will sell. And then slowly in last 40 years, things have changed. I can tell you then as late as perhaps what it was like 1988, I remember Chrysler was trying to sell cars in Japan, and they were selling the same cars that they were selling in the US. They wanted to sell the same cars that they were selling in the US, same car to Japan. Anyone knows about Japan? What side of the road they drive? Have you guys been to any country, any place where they drive on the wrong side or left side versus right side? Anyone here? As I know that people in India, but Japan is the same. There are 50 countries in the world, 50, where they, is it being recorded? Yeah, it's being recorded. Good. There are 50 countries in the world where they drive on the opposite side as we drive here. Okay. Which means their steering wheel is on the other side. Now tell me, will you buy a car in the US if the steering wheel was not on the left side, but was on the right side? Like US Postal Service, will you buy a car? US Postal Service is the only exception. They have a car where the steering wheel is on the right side, because that's how they deliver the mail, right? Apart from that, nobody else drives cars. I mean, you would not drive car if the steering wheel, you want to have the car, which is standard, which is the steering wheel is on the left side, correct? Are you all with me? Now, why would anyone buy a Chrysler, which was made for American market? No, you have to tailor the product for their market. Okay? Toyota, Honda, they sell different cars in different countries. The Japanese cars are different, American cars are different. Correct? They are not saying that, hey, we will sell you the product that we sell in our country. Good thing is that in last 40 years, the attitude of American businesses have changed. Attitude, has changed over that time period. And they understand that they have to serve the customer what they need and what in their situation. FedEx was the first one, actually not the first one. FedEx was using this hub and spoke system, which some airlines use. You know what a hub and spoke system is, right? Everyone here, have you heard of hub and spoke system? Is there anyone who doesn't know what a hub and spoke system is? Then I can explain to you. Everyone understands that, right? Hub and spoke system. Nobody's saying anything. Okay.
What is it?
No,
Okay.
yeah.
No. All right. So yeah, ask questions. So let me tell you, I wanted to fly, and believe me, I flew from Johnstown. Oops, don't run away. You know that Johnstown, Pennsylvania has an airport, and they have 2 flights a day. Actually, technically 2 coming in, 2 going out. And I wanted to go from Johnstown to Huntsville, Alabama, which I did on December 13th last year. Huntsville, Alabama. So what do you think? They should be able to fill up a plane every day and send people from Johnstown to Huntsville every day? Do you think there will be enough people to fill up a plane? No. No way. So what did they do? They have only, they took me from Johnstown, took me to Chicago, and then there I changed the plane and I went to Huntsville. In the same plane, there were people who were going to Orlando, people who were going to Dallas-Fort Worth, people who were going to Minneapolis, Minnesota, people who were going to Seattle, in the same plane. They all came to Chicago and they changed plane and they went to respective places. Now you are able to connect smaller centers, because Johnstown, they can easily fill a 50-person plane and take them to Chicago, and they go there in Chicago and they change plane and they go, pretty much the world opens up for you if you're in Chicago. Same thing, Johnstown also has a flight from Johnstown to IAD, which is the Dulles International Airport in DC area, in Washington, DC, Northern Virginia area. Same thing. They have a flight here, and from there you can connect to lots of places. So this is hub and spoke system. It is like, bicycle hub and spoke. This is what your bicycle is, right? And that's what it's called. So this approach allows them to serve even smaller places, lots of places. So Federal Express, when they started, they were using one hub in Memphis. And they started when they started in the 70s, 80s. At that time, everything that you sent by, they only were doing overnight express. That's all. People used to send important documents by overnight. So anything, wherever you sent it from, they all went to Memphis, not Chicago. Their hub is in Memphis. So all the planes brought the mail around middle of the night from everywhere in the country. The mail got sorted and they were put back on their respective planes where they were supposed to go. and the planes took off in the morning, and they delivered the mail next morning to its respective places. That was their model. Of course, airlines are doing the same, right? Airlines have been doing it for a while. They've been doing this kind of thing, hub and spoke system. So guaranteed delivery. It was guaranteed it will be delivered next day. They were expensive, but they were doing it. Okay. Dell believed in, completely different kind of approach. They say, okay, of course, they were managing their supply chain, all the products coming in, etc. But they got into something known as mass customization. Many of you know the term mass production, right? Anyone here who does not know the term mass production? What does mass production mean? The more you produce, the same thing, price per unit goes down, right? Because you have two kinds of cost, fixed cost and variable cost, right? Remember all that stuff from your accounting class? Okay, if your fixed cost is $100, and if you were going to make one of this pen, and that variable cost is $1. And if you're going to make only one item, you will have to sell them for at least $101 or more, actually make money. So your cost is going to be $100 fixed cost plus $1. Do you understand that? But what if you made 2 pens? Now your cost is going to be $100 fixed cost, the same equipment, machine, whatever, overhead, etc. Overhead, maybe not, but 2, and the variable cost will become $2. So your total cost is $102, which means your cost now dropped from $101 to $51. Do you agree? It became half. If you make 100 pen, now your cost will become $2 because 100 plus 100, 200 divided by 100. Are you with me? Simple logic, simple thing. If you made million pen, hey, fixed cost will not make any impact. The only thing that will matter is your variable cost. Okay? So that is the old variable cost approach where you can produce more and your price per unit goes down. Now, everyone knows what customization means, correct? Customization. Can you customize things? Can you get your iPhone and ask them, take it somewhere and put diamonds, studded with diamonds everywhere? Can you get it done? Absolutely. There are iPhones sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, gold rim and so on and so forth. They can be customized. But when you customize, what happens? Your cost goes up. Any customization. I mean, you don't have to stud it with diamonds, but any changes. Do you agree with that? Customization will cost money. Now tell me, what is mass customization? Can you combine the mass production, customization, mass customization?
Would an example be like clothing with different sizes?
Well, even there is they produce in large quantity, different sizes. The customization would be you go there, they take your measurement. You go there, to a store, and they take your measurements, and it gets made. Factory makes that item and it's shipped to you. That will be customization. But you're still, only 3 sizes, or 4 or 5 different sizes, large, small, medium, extra large shirt sleeves, whatever, different sizes. But still, it is kind of mass production. They make hundreds of thousands of those, tens of thousands. So Dell Computer, they use a strategy called modular design. And they said, oh, you want 1 terabyte hard drive? No problem. It will go in the same place where half terabyte drive goes. Same connection. Do you want 32 gig of RAM versus 16 gig? No problem. Same place, same slot, you insert 32 gig of terabyte RAM. Are you with me? So now, depending on the customer order, using the same base computer, they can produce the product that you want and you're willing to pay. Okay, so that is mass customization. A simple, one more great example of mass customization. There's another strategy which is known as delayed differentiation. Delayed differentiation. And I can give you delayed differentiation example that you all understand. So has anyone gone to buy paint? Have you bought paint for your home project? Anyone here? Home project paint? No one? No, Dylan, you have?
Yep.
So what happens? You went to Lowe's or you Sherwin-Williams, you say, I want this red color. And you went in the store and, that red color, that's the one I want. You picked up the thing and you paid and you walked out. Was it like that?
Yeah, or there can be, and then sometimes they can like color match it, where they have like thing they put all the different colors in and they like spin it.
That's it.
That's mm-hmm.
So what they do is now they don't carry different colors because they may have to carry 10,000 different colors, correct? You want this red, you want number 7 red, number 9. I don't know, all different colors of red. How many colors can they carry? Some colors will sell, some colors will not sell. So what they did is say, instead of beginning with different color, we are going to do the differentiation of color towards the end of the process, not at the beginning of the process. Are you with me? So what they do is, as Dylan was explaining, it is basically they have the base color, white color, no color, then what they do is the color you want, you can really take anything you want. They can put it under their optical analyzer and put the dye, drop it in the paint in the right quantity. Using the 4 base color, they can just create any color they want, right? You guys know about, you learned that 3 colors. That's all they do. They drop the dyes, shake it up, and create the color you want. So that is delayed differentiation, another similar strategy for achieving this mass customization. Now, whether you want red color, the color you want, or you want a standard color, doesn't matter. It is not going to cost you an arm and a leg to create a color that you want. Customization is not expensive, and that's why it is called mass customization. You can get what you want and still pay not much different price. By the way, Preston, your example of clothing reminded me of another example in Japan where they customize bicycle. So you go to the store, you go to a bicycle store, they'll make you sit on a skeleton bicycle, and they'll put electrodes and take all measurements, etc. And transfer that information automatically to their factory, which is not too far away. And the factory will create a bicycle which will be to your measurement using flexible manufacturing system and computerized integrated system, and so on. Make a product that fits you. And it really doesn't cost any more than if they were making standard bicycle, because it's all computerized. Whatever you tell them. I'll give you more examples and some local examples later on. But Dell was focused on that. That became their forte. That became their, or fort, whatever you like the word. Some purists say the word is fort, F-O-R-T-E, not forte. But anyway, whatever is word you're willing to accept, pronunciation. Fort or forte. All right. All right. So, do you agree that these are the three primary functions in any organization. Let me begin with, you need money. You need capital, finance, maybe accounting. These people track all the expenses, money, etc. Bring in money, raise money so you can set up your operation. And then you create product and then you sell them. These are the three primary functions. All other functions, human resource management, MIS, management information system, engineering, R&D, they are all support functions, purchasing, okay? They're all support functions. So these are the three primary functions. Now, this is what happened. I mean, our focus is really the productive system. Our focus is this, production operations in this class. Did I mess up too much? Is this like too many? Erase it, make it cleaner. All right. So our focus is this one. Okay. This is one of the three primary functions in any organization. And so your production system, or some people don't like the term production because production has manufacturing connotation. But some people want to use the term productive system, which means it takes the input, converts it into output. And that's valid for all kinds of organizations. Movie making, yes, they have a productive system too. They have to plan things. Okay, they have input and they have output. And then their input undergoes transformation. McDonald's, of course, it's almost set up like manufacturing. Lawyer service, lawyers, absolutely, they have input. They have, conversion process. Of course, in their conversion process, the big thing is that their clock runs 4 times the speed of a regular clock, because they'll work for 10 minutes and they'll charge you for 200 hours. It's a joke. All right. So, they have productive system. They have to create reports. They have to, and ultimately they have to serve you, provide service. Okay. So any kind of organization, you have input. Input can be capital, material, equipment, facilities, suppliers. Suppliers are, suppliers to supply you either with raw material or components, subcontractors, labor, knowledge, time. These are all input. And then you have a transformation system, which take all that input, converts into output. And output can be two kinds: physical good or service. There could be a physical good and there could be service. Now, more and more people think that, well, really, every organization exists for only one reason: provide you service. And they may have a physical product, which they call it facilitating good. So when Elon Musk sells you an electric car, a Tesla, he is really in the business of providing service. It just so happens that he has a physical good that facilitates that service. That's the argument they make. That's the argument people say, that everyone is in the business of providing service. Now, obviously, some services are going to be, do I have it on this one? Maybe not. Later on. Okay. There are various kinds of services. Some services are pure service. Some services are quasi-manufacturing. Again, I should write nicely if I, service, quasi, manufacturing, meaning these are services, but they're really set up like an operations. So if you think about Amazon is not, is not pure. What we are doing right now is pure service. I'm creating the service that is being consumed by you. Do you agree with that? I mean, you may or may not be interested, but at least I'm creating the service with the hope that you will consume. And you're here in the system. Service is being created and consumed at the same time. Okay? And this is where, all these nuances, your interaction plays a very important role. Some classes, sometimes I teach the same course, 2 sections at the undergraduate level. I go teach at the undergraduate level, first section, and that class is fun. I go there because people are like laughing. People know each other. They're friendly. They're pulling each other's leg. They're joking and participating. And I go to a second section, and that section is like pulling teeth. No one is interested. When I'm teaching, they are looking wherever they want, whatever they are doing, right? So that tells me that they're not interested. They're not interested. And my delivery of the product is very different in those classes. So in pure service, the service provider is affected by the customer in the system. Do you agree? Do you understand that? It's like a performance. If somebody is singing and performing and the audience is not interested at all, the performer will not be able to perform. Okay? You go to a comedy club and people are just, he's telling jokes and you're not laughing, it will not be good. So pure service has one major thing, which is customer is there in the system. Quasi-manufacturing, customer places order, customer is not there when the service is being created. Amazon, you place the order, but how they deliver from which warehouse they're going to get your product. How are they going to combine 3 different products you order from which, different sources, whatever. How will it come to you? Okay. It's all being handled like manufacturing behind the scene. Has anyone seen a video of Amazon warehouse or any warehouse or order fulfillment centers? They're like crazy. Okay, I've been to one in Columbus. And it's just like, you're looking at manufacturing operation. It's like everything is automated, things are running. There are conveyor belts where products are running at 60 miles an hour, like crazy. Things are happening, okay, like manufacturing operation, not like pure service. And there's something known as mixed service, where you may have business in kind of 2 parts. Some part is pure, some part is like quasi-manufacturing. So let me give you an example. Example that I can think of is bank is like quasi-manufacturing. They have 2 people, two sets of people. One set is like front office people. You interact with them. You go there. You want to apply for a loan, and they'll ask you all kinds of questions, right? They'll take your social security number. They'll assess your risk worthiness. They'll ask you for your employment record. They'll ask you, your birth date. Why, when were you born? Where were you born? Why were you born? Right? All kinds of questions they will ask. Right? And then they take all that information and send it to the back office. So there's a front office and there's a back office. Back office runs like somewhat like pure, no customer contact. They get the information, they put the information, they, pull their record, they conduct assessment of the house which you want to buy and buy mortgage from the bank and so on. So it's all behind the scene. So front office, customer interacts. Back office, customer doesn't interact. Okay. So because depending on the role, you will have different people skill. See, if you are interacting with people, you need to have good people skill. If you're just working on the back side, you still need good people skill because you're interacting with your colleagues. But at least you're not the face of the organization. You're not interacting with customer. If you are very good in your technical work, but you have 0 people skill, company may still keep you in the back office, not in the front office. Do you agree? Front office, you need to have people skill. Agreed? All right. So all these kinds of things are important to understand and plan your service operation. But again, the whole idea is, and there are feedback loops, if things are not working, if there are some issues, you go back and say, okay, what is going on? There are some indirect environmental factors, customer regulations, competition, technology, suppliers, what is the state of the economy? All these environmental factors affect your conversion process. And of course, there's also continuous monitoring. And do we need to adjust your process? Do we need to do something? Do we need to, looks like the product quality conversion is bad. Why? Because supplier is not supplying you good raw material. So work with supplier. Maybe your equipments have gone bad. They're worn out and you need to replace tools and so on. Maybe work on that system. So there's always feedback loop to improve the system. All right, so that's that. Oh my goodness. This thing moves like it gives me headache. I hope that you guys are not, I'm trying not to move it too fast, but sometimes it goes on its own. It reminds me of Prezi. Have you used Prezi for presentation? Do you like it? I get headache. I get dizzy in Prezi presentations. I don't know. Maybe I'm old and you guys, can live with this Prezi. But anyway, all right. So, operations management. Remember, marketing has 4 Ps, right? Do you guys know what marketing 4 Ps? Anyone remembers what those 4 Ps of marketing is? 4 Ps are? You've taken a marketing class, right? Have you?
People,
You have-
product,
Yes,
price,
sir.
promotion.
Okay, good. Go ahead. I think some other person was trying to speak. Let me, Kristen, or were you?
Product, price, place, and promotions.
Product, price, place, okay, and promotion. All right.
Promotion.
Promotion, right. How you're promoting the product. Product, you have to have a good product. You have to, good price, and placement, and then promotion. So we are better. We have 5 Ps. Marketing has only 4 Ps. We have 5. Just kidding. All right. So the 5 Ps for operations is people, products. You have to make product, physical product or service product, plant or office, and then you have processes and the actual conversion, the actual production or conversion of input into output. It need not be physical production, but conversion of input into output. So these are the 5 Ps of operations. And it's very interesting that production function, the operations functions, can control up to 70% of business assets. So very heavy investment in the operations in organizations. All right. All right. So let me give you a little bit of history. What has been happening? USA was very strong in manufacturing. In fact, after World War II, the only game in town was the US because Japan was completely devastated. Europe, that's where the war was taking place. And really, American manufacturers, they were the best. And companies focused on operations, companies made good products, a lot of focus on operations. But that changed in the 60s. 60s brought something known as, the television, the mass marketing. Some of you may have heard the story from me if you took my undergraduate class. I think, Preston, you took my undergraduate class, I remember, right? Did you take my class? Yeah, you did. Or you're not just my advisee, but you were.
Yep.
You took my class. All right. So you may remember the story or not, but let's see. Carolyn Bianco, I mean, you were in my class too, right? Undergraduate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm seeing some places and I'm faces. I'm not very good, but I'll remember you once, once I see you. So this story is, in the 50s. Do you know the term soap opera? Like television programs, right? Anyone knows, anyone remembers? I'm sure I've told this story to you, Carolyn and Preston, and others of my undergraduate classes. Why soap opera is called soap opera? Anyone remembers that? No? Maybe I didn't tell this story. I thought that I'd tell in previous class. Maybe I didn't. Who knows? They're called soap operas because typically in those days, in the 60s, the whole program was sponsored by typically soap companies, soap and detergent companies. The whole program. They would have this announcement at the beginning, like what they do in PBS nowadays. This program has been brought to you by XYZ. Right? Have you seen those kinds of ads on PBS or other places? Right? So they used to have that. That was that. Then the cost of programming increased. So their focus was really, hey, let's sell. Let's advertise. Let's sell. Sell, sell, sell. And so companies became very engaged in these promotions, these soap operas, these television ads. Sorry, part of the reason why I'm keeping the class at home from Zoom is because I'm not feeling 100%. I'm sick, and of course it's extremely cold, and I'm worried about people who walk home, don't have a car. You take a bus, and you miss the bus. You still have to walk for 20 minutes in this cold. Anyway, so this newfound medium at that time, the television, changed the whole thing. Okay, and companies started focusing on on marketing. Marketing became the focus. Then came the era of 1980s, where the focus became finance, financial maneuvering, mergers, takeovers, and those kinds of, thing where you were creating a sense of dynamism, but not really. I mean, you were not focusing on the product. Product operations took backseat. And that is when they realized, oh my goodness, the American manufacturing prowess has taken a backseat. Japan has defeated us. In the 60s, if I ask you what is made in Japan, what do you think of made in Japan? If I tell you, oh, this is made in Japan, what will you say? Oh, good stuff, bad stuff. What will you say?
Definitely good stuff.
Good stuff, right?
Yes.
Good stuff.
In the 1960s or in the past.
In the 60s, they were not good stuff, right? In the 60s,
Correct.
Japan had the same connotation as made in China that carries today, which, by the way, is totally, totally wrong perception. China can make things on both ends, very high quality and very low quality. Do you agree? Your cell phone probably is manufactured, assembled, and many of the components are made in China. But China can also make cheap product, like the stuff you buy at Dollar Tree, which probably they made it for like 20 cents, and ultimately it is being sold to you for $1.25. So a lot of money, the intermediaries are making money, not China as much. But China is making a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. China has become the second largest economy in the world. Has left Japan behind. Japan is undergoing some trouble. Japan is one of the countries where the population is shrinking because they don't have, their immigration policies are crazy. They're not, the people are not creating children, but they are not also getting people from elsewhere. So it's a very homogeneous society with very few people from different color, different race, different parts of the world, etc. So it's an aging population, very rapidly aging population, and therefore they are in trouble because not many young people working there. Anyway, so you see that while we forgot operations, Japan in the 80s was the first time when the made in Japan cars were of superior quality than the American cars. And the first reaction of Americans managers in Detroit was the manufacturing hub for cars, right? The first reaction was, oh, if Japan can improve quality, so can we. We will put more inspectors at the end of the assembly line. Wrong approach to manage quality. You don't want to catch mistakes. Rather, you want to make products which are defect-free. Not at the end of there's a completely different way of thinking. And so that was, obviously, global competition is forcing us to reevaluate our priorities constantly. Now I'm registered independent. Okay, that means I vote for whichever person, and I'm an equal opportunity offender, meaning I make fun of Democrats and I make fun of Republicans, both sides. Okay, so don't feel offended. I mean, I know you may have political belief one way or the other, and you would say, "Oh, he was making fun of my party," or So just remember, I will make fun of everyone. Okay, but I am liking some of the things, not all the things, some of the things that Trump is promising to do. Especially when it comes to manufacturing. We have lost our industrial base. And if he's successful in making our industrial base bigger, I'm all for him. Although he promised the same thing 4 years ago, but, and said that he will save a lot of jobs and this and that. No, the manufacturing companies were leaving USA. I remember in 2017, he went down to some plant in Indiana, and he came back and he made an announcement that 2,000 jobs have been saved. Guess what? Now, 9 months later, only 400 jobs remain in the US, remaining 1,600 went to Mexico. Okay, so he lost, he was not able to. I think this time it looks like a different focus, and I hope, he incentivizes people to, build things here in the US. Otherwise, we will lose the skill. I mean, I'll give you a simple example of, you talk about losing skill. We were the best silicon chip producers, the computer chips. You know what I'm talking about, silicon chips? We were the best in the US. We have no longer true. No longer true. Silicon Semiconductor Taiwan Semiconductor Corporation, TSMC, is now the best manufacturer. And we are not producing the same quality. We cannot. They are generations ahead of us because we lost the ability to produce because we were getting it made somewhere else. We were designing best chips, but we don't have the capability to produce new chips. Now, of course, there were some good things done during the previous administration, previous government. Again, some good things, some bad things. The government was putting money in creating they funded partially 4 different semiconductor plant. One in Columbus is coming up, one in Austin, and I believe 2 in Phoenix. And these are humongous investment. Each plant is like $20 billion. And nobody would make, unless the government was kind of supporting it in some way. And hopefully these 4 plants which are coming up, I hope that they are able to bring back our ability to produce high quality product. protecting our industrial base is important. At some point, we cannot just flip burger and feed each other. We have to do something, more manufacturing, more, higher level jobs has to be maintained in the US, I believe. Okay, so let's see what happens. I mean, good things, bad things. I mean, both administrations were attempting to do something. Let's see what happens. All right, and again, please do understand that I'm independent, and therefore I have right to offend every one of you, whatever your political belief is. Okay, so don't be upset. Are you upset? Are you okay? Can you live with my approach that I'm an equal opportunity offender? No? All right. So, I know the country has become so divided now. It's like unreal. People think that we are enemies of each other. The Democrats are enemies of Republicans, and Republicans are enemies of them. It's like crazy thinking. Okay. In the past, even the senators and congressmen, they all, even though they were different parties, they were respecting each other. They just thought that they always had this feeling that now everyone has good intentions. You may not just agree with their approach, one side versus the other side. They never thought that these people are not trying to do good things, or these people are not trying to do good things. Both sides were trying to do good things, and there was respect and collaboration and cooperation, and that's gone, unfortunately. But anyway, all right. That's my independent view. All right. So, good thing is that to make money, you have to get your fingers dirty. You have to create product. You have to create service. Now, of course, slowly over time period, manufacturing will play a smaller and smaller role in terms of employment number. It will employ fewer and fewer people because we become extremely productive using technologies. I'll give you a simple example. Allegheny Steel in Pittsburgh, at one point, they probably employed 2,000 people. And now they probably have about 50 or 100 people at the most, and producing same amount of steel. So we have become very productive using technology. Are you following along? So there will be a time. I mean, there will be a time when our robots and the fourth industrial revolution will result in, who knows? I mean, everything will be made. The artificial intelligence and all these kinds of things which are affecting people sometimes get worried. What will people do? What are we going to do? What am I going to do? I mean, think about if I was younger, I'm only, 2.5 years away from retirement, I'll be worried as a professor. Because why am I needed? Okay, one smarter, more brilliant professor from Harvard can teach thousands of people. I don't have to teach you. Okay, so people are thinking, what are they going to do? Anyway, a lot of it's like the technology is changing things so rapidly. All right, this slide, and then we'll take a short break. Okay. So these are some of the topics we will cover in this course. It's not a comprehensive list. Supply chain management incorporates all these different kinds of things, operations and supply chain. So, aggregate planning, facility location, scheduling, etc. You want to take a break right now? What, about 7 minutes? 7 minutes used to be a number because people said you need 7 minutes to smoke a cigarette. And so all the time in the past, breaks were 7 minutes long. Okay. Now you don't have cigarettes. So, you go to your restroom, listen to music for 2-3 minutes, and then come back in 7 minutes.
Can we have our cameras off during the break?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Resume recording. Okay, all right. So here's the definition. This is mouthful, but I'll explain these things. Operations organizes, plan, controls, improves using process, inventory, workforce, facilities, and equipment in order to basically, depending on their competitive priority, price, quality, dependability, flexibility, time. And again, these competitive priorities I'll explain later on. To basically decide, how to achieve short-term and long-term profitability and improve their market share. Every company is looking for improving their market share, how much they can sell, how much they can compete, and maybe get and steal from other companies and so on. Market share is a big focus. But companies have to decide how they want to compete. Do they want to compete on price alone? Generally not enough. Are they going to produce, on quality? And again, quality can be, consistent quality or, high-end quality, etc. We'll talk about those things. So they have to set their competitive priority to achieve their operations. All right, that matches with their competitive priority. They're able to produce products based on their competitive priorities. All right. How do companies achieve competitive advantage? To achieve competitive advantage, look at this one. You must have the right resources. You must have the capabilities. Combined together, these two things create values. So let me just give you an example. You need to have right equipment at a hospital, and you have to have the right kind of doctors who can use and utilize the, doctors and others, technical staff. They have the capability to run those machines, decipher all the results and so on. And combined with these two things, resources and capabilities, they create value. And you achieve competitive advantage only through value. Value doesn't mean cheap. Okay? Value never means cheap. It's what you pay and what you get. Okay? Like people who buy Ferrari, is it good value to them? Is it good value to people who are buying Ferrari? Absolutely. It may not be good value to you at this point, but people who buy Ferrari, it's good value to them. People who buy, brand name, expensive fashion items, whatever, it's good value to them. Okay, value does not mean cheap. Just remember that part. Okay, but again, you have to have right resources, right capabilities to achieve these value activities and to therefore gain competitive advantage. All right. And that only by adding value, only by improving productivity, you are able to achieve higher standard of living. Okay, because we can do a lot more in less time. I joke around and give this example. What did we do 10,000 years ago? We spent all our time on the basic necessity of, finding food to eat and make sure that we are not get eaten. Right? Would you say that 10,000 years ago? That's what we did. We human beings spent all the time in gathering, hunting, and then we learned, created tools, and we became more productive. And over time period, now, you had so much time. You learn farming. Now you don't have to spend all your time on everything. You save a lot of time. So what do you do in that save time? Well, let's see, what can we do? We save time. We can achieve this whole thing. Okay, let's invent the internet. Okay, let's make movies. Let's have some recreational activity. Let's have cruises, right? That's what people, because you have become so more productive. So how do you become more productive? Basically, the conversion process has to be very critical. You are able to efficiently convert input into output, okay, and you're becoming more and more productive. The more productive you become, it's good for the society. The standard of living of the country increases. So over time period, human beings have become more and more and more productive by using technology, by using tools, etc. And as we become more productive, we are adding more value, and therefore, we are able to achieve better standard of living. That's the idea. Some historical event, some significant event in terms of what has been happening. Although I'm going to expand this a little bit. I think this is from your textbook. We'll talk about textbook in a little bit more detail next time. So there were early concepts of industrial revolution, things like labor specialization. They found out that if I were to make a product and I did every part myself, I'll take a lot more time. Versus if the work was divided, there was a division of labor and labor specialization. I'm doing one same task repeatedly again and again and again, I'll be far more productive. So, labor specialization, Wealth of the Nation book was very popular in 1776, Smith, economist, who came out with that. Eli Whitney was standardized parts, where, earlier they were making chairs. One leg would not fit into another chair's leg because everything was customized. Then we started thinking, oh, wait, can we standardize it so that, this leg breaks, it will fit in the other leg or whatever. So standard interchangeable parts, that's Eli Whitney. Followed by the era of scientific management through experimentation, through observations. You figure out one best way of doing a job, and you do it, efficiently. There were many other kinds of people who contributed. Gantt, Henry Gantt, Gilbert's husband-wife team. In fact, they have, you may have seen the funny movie Cheaper by the Dozen. Anyone has seen that, Cheaper by the Dozen? The new one, as well as there was an old one. The new one has references to old Cheaper by the Dozen, which is even funnier, in my opinion. That's based on their life. Lillian and Frank Gilbert. And then we had this mass production era, moving assembly line, Henry Ford, sampling, statistical, statistics, use of statistics for quality improvement. That's Walter Shewhart, economic order quantity, Harris, many other kinds of, quantitative modeling, etc. was happening. 80s, as I told you, this is when we recognize that Japan has surpassed the US with their focus on lean production. So lean production era. And then, of course, what we are going through is, more technology and the fourth industrial revolution, which we'll talk about in 1 second. So, industrial revolution, and there were not just one. Now they're agreeing that there were 4 different industrial revolutions took place, and I'll talk about that. Most people, when we talk about industrial revolution, we talk about the first one. But really, if you look at the historical events, now they say that no, we have had so far 4 different industrial revolution, and every revolution resulted in a jump, a quantum jump in how we did things. Scientific management era, and this is where finding one best way of doing thing by observation and so on. Human relations era, this is where it said, hey, there's something else, not just the scientific way, but something that motivates people. And this is where, basically it started with a scientific experiment gone wrong. This Mayo-Hawthorne experiment, this is where they were observing. I'm sure you have read about this in your principles of management or other classes. Hawthorne experiment, anyone remembers that? You heard of that? Hawthorne experiment was, I see AJ is agreeing. This is where they were doing an experiment on electric harness assembly, wiring assembly. And they had a whole bunch of women. They were doing some work. and they were wearing the light to see are the workers becoming productive. They increase the light, worker productivity went up. They decrease the light, worker productivity went up. It kept going up until the light level dropped down to just like moonlit night. That's when the workers were not able to do the job. Earlier, light was not affecting. So they say, oh, looks like it's not the light. It's the internal motivation. The workers were being observed. And therefore, they were just performing better, more and more and more, at least during the time of observation. Okay. So that's when they started getting into Herzberg's two-factor theory and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You guys know about that, right? Maslow's hierarchy of need. What motivates people at different level? You know, if you achieve the basic security, remember, you know the Maslow's hierarchy of need, right? The 5 levels of Maslow's hierarchy of need. Okay. So food, shelter, and then, belonging, and, all those kinds of things. By the way, there's a new 6th level that has been added, which is more basic than food, shelter, clothing. Anyone knows what that is? More important than food, shelter, clothing. Wi-Fi. Okay, this is just joke. Okay, all right. This is not serious. All right. Okay. So Hawthorne experiment, so there were a lot of people who were contributing that, hey, how do people get motivated? Just giving them more money does not mean they'll be more motivated. Maybe they need more power, more recognition. Okay. But lack of money will definitely not make people happy. If you give them a lot of recognition, oh, fantastic, wonderful job, but don't pay them, they're not going to get motivated. Okay. So there are some factors where you have to pay them, but beyond certain point, pay doesn't motivate them further more. It other thing. People look for other things. So those kinds of issues were being debated, discussed, researched, and applied. So there were some management science of mathematical modeling to find best answers, linear programming, statistical quality control, all those kinds of things were taking place. A lot of mathematical approach to doing the job right. Quality revolution happened. This was, perhaps from 50s to, maybe it's going on, maybe 90s. Okay. Then, of course, we are undergoing, tremendous changes in technology and internet. As I said, they basically said that there are 4, we are now under 4th industrial revolution. So you may hear this term.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Oh, shut up. This is my Alexa. So I'm not asking you anything. Let me power off. All right. So the first industrial revolution was when they say steam engine for power, interchangeable parts, spinning jenny for yarn, power looms for weaving, factories, all these things were coming up. That was late 18th century to mid 19th century. And then mid to late 19th century was second revolution. This is where we really had this electricity. That was a big thing. And then, of course, we moved into a lot of steel production, mass production, producing in large quantities in an assembly line, scientific management, all these things were part of the second industrial revolution. Third revolution started around 1950s. This is where Bill Shockley came up with the semiconductor. Okay. Bill Shockley and his team, and they got Nobel Prize for that. This has changed the thing. This is where we started seeing the computers, an improvement in computers and Moore's law. They were able to pack more and more power into smaller and smaller chips. Right now, and they say something around 2012, they placed the marker at about 2012. So about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, they say we are under the 4th revolution. This is where we have smart factories, advanced manufacturing, genomics, nanotechnology, Internet of Things, industrial Internet of Things. You guys know that, right? Home automation and those kinds of things. You can do control things from internet, and industrial automation, RFID, radio frequency ID, sensors, cloud computing. We are fast and quickly moving into cloud computing where you don't need to have the software on your machine. Your machine is like a dumb machine. The calculation, etc., is happening in the cloud somewhere on big server. You just need a good connection. Quantum computer, which is coming up, and the term artificial intelligence. You hear this term again and again, and there are two types of people. One, people who say, no, there's nothing artificial. We have programmed it. So, they don't have any human characteristics. There's no artificial intelligence. And I believed in that. Except I heard a little thing on a program called 60 Minutes. And that's kind of scary part for me. And maybe I'll find a link to share with you guys to watch that program. It was an interview of the Google CEO. And he was, and Google company. And there was a guy who was in charge of the language module, the translate part. And he said that they have built this program, this system, where now they're incorporating more and more and more languages, right? Has anyone used the Translate ever? Google Translate? You can take something in French and convert it into English. Or take it into, this cool stuff. I know
I've used it before, but it's typically pretty unreliable because it doesn't understand the different nuances of like the grammar of language.
Sometimes
Bit of
it's
that.
well.
This is what, hold on. Who was the first person? I didn't recognize the screen.
My name is
Oh, that's David there. Okay, David, thank you. Mohammed.
Yes, it's Muhammad. Now, it's worked with me very well when I visited in France, and I used it very usefully. That was so useful, and translating and Google.
Oh yeah, I was in Palestine. You guys know that we have a program in MBA and PhD program in Palestine, in West Bank, not Gaza.
Okay.
I hope you guys know the difference in Gaza and Palestine. Very, very different. Okay, even people from West Bank, part of Palestine, they are scared to go to Gaza. I know when I have visited Gaza, Palestine, maybe West Bank, 6-7 times. So anyway, so I'll have to tell you a little story. I went to, right across from my hotel, there was a small shop where you can buy things, like small, tiny grocery store. Tiny one, very small. So I go up there and I really wanted, I wanted to have buttermilk. So I went to this guy and said, hey, I need buttermilk. He said, buttermilk. And he walked me to a place where he gave me butter. I said, no, I don't want butter. I want buttermilk. Milk. He took me to milk. And I said, oh my goodness, what do I do? Then I pulled out my phone and typed in buttermilk and translated in Arabic and showed it to him. He said, oh, and he took me to buttermilk. So it's very useful, by the way. For simple little things here and there, it does a pretty decent job. Don't expect that it will translate. Sometimes, so one of my colleagues is, very fluent in French, and he was writing things to me in French. Of course, I know nothing, So I was taking that stuff and putting it in Google and translating it, and I was responding, and I was doing this. I was writing in English, translating in French, and then taking the French back again and putting it in French and translating in English to see if it was translating correctly or not, just to double sure. And I was responding to him, and he was pretty impressed with me. He didn't know that I was using Google Translate while communicating with him, and he was good. He thought that I knew some French. He assumed that I knew some French. Okay. But that was like, 7-8 years ago. I did, before pandemic. So yeah. So I was going back to the story of what I heard on that program was that So the guy who was in charge of this translate thing, he said that he was putting some words, and he was working on the Bengali to English translation, Bengali language. It's a language which is spoken in India and Bangladesh. So he was working on that, and he said he had no idea. He was putting those words, and the program was able to extrapolate, and he has no idea why it was doing that. And I said, oh my God, that's scary. If Google developing the program is unaware of what is going on, and they say that on television that we don't know what it's doing, that's scary in terms of artificial intelligence. So I said, oh my goodness, maybe because I was one of those who said, BS, there's no artificial intelligence. No, we have programmed it. But after watching that program, I said, oh, there may be some artificial intelligence. Who knows what it is? But so all these things are making big difference, big impact. I mean, you guys have used, I'm sure you guys use it. And I wanted to play with it. So for the first time, I think about a month ago, I asked it to write a 2-page research paper on a topic. And I was blown away. I know that you guys have used, and, Turnitin catches and tells you, what percentage of program looks like from, AI and what percentage is plagiarized, all that. We get all the data, right? And sometimes it's very obvious because I know that year and a half ago, there was a project that 4 students were working on. They were going to talk about the quality management practices at Apple. And I was reading the paper, and then all of a sudden, it started talking about the texture and flavor and size. I said, what the heck is that? You know what? They were talking about the apple fruit in the middle of the paper. They didn't even realize because they just, they must have 3-4 people must have done something and they collected all the things and they slapped it together. Here is our submission. But anyway, the quality of work, the quality that comes out is like unreal. It can do very good job. Especially the ChatGPT and all that stuff, right? ChatGPT and what is the other? What are the popular ones? ChatGPT, and the other one is Google's Gemini. Anyone has used Gemini? Okay, I mean, I'm using the free version. I'm cheapo. I've used it once or twice of few things, but it's amazing what they can do. What they can do, amazing. I have planned to try this. Students occasionally ask me to write a reference letter. I'll ask them, give me your resume, plug into AI and say, hey, write a recommendation letter. Let's see how good a job it does. I want to try that. Anyway, so this is game changer. We are going to be so productive. No human intervention. Supply chain will run on its own. Okay. Once you have optimized it, once it is working, you know exactly where things are, ownership, what is the technology behind Bitcoin? My cold. The blockchain. Blockchain is finding application in all kinds of fields, especially in supply chain management. Okay, so amazing kinds of things are happening. It's going to change the world. I don't know. In next 20 years, it's going to be the fastest change that we have seen next 10 years. All right, competitive priorities. Let's move along. You can compete on cost. Everyone knows that one. That's easy. Competing on quality. Again, you don't have to make Ferrari. You can make Toyota Corolla. Okay, of course, consistent quality is, hey, it's reliable product, good quality. It will take you from point A to point B. It will start the car. It's consistent quality. High performance design typically means, you're designing at a very different level. Hey, Ferrari, maybe it can run for 1 million miles. The engine is strong enough, whatever, performance. It can go 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, whatever, you know what I mean. Okay. So you have to decide, how do you want to compete? Do you want to be Plaza Hotel in New York City? Or you don't want to be Hampton Inn? Okay, Plaza Hotel, you may pay upwards of, like $2,000-$3,000 a night or more. Or pay $150 for at Hampton Inn. Hampton Inn, I'll say consistent quality. Plaza Hotel, maybe high performance design, designed differently. Are you all good? Understand that example? Competing on flexibility. Again, we talked about this briefly, customization. Do you have the ability to customize? Sheets. Their famous thing is what? Are you all Sheets fan here? MTO, made to order. Made to order, and this is again going back to 80s, before your parents were born, but you were not, obviously. MTO, made to order. It used to be like, you go there used to be a small pencil, paper, you take the paper, you mark your sandwich, they'll make it. The guy who came up with this MTO idea, I met him in Altoona, in their headquarters, and he was amply rewarded. This was like a big deal, customization. Okay, they can make things to your liking with not too much extra cost. So do you want to compete on that, or you want to make any color car Model T as long as it is black? Have you heard of that expression, the funny one? That Model T, the first car made on the assembly line, Henry Ford said, at least it's a folklore, it may or may not be true. You can get any color you want as long as it's black. So there were only one color, no customization, same thing, mass produced product. So you have to decide how you want to compete, and therefore have the right resources in your company. Okay. Do you want to have volume flexibility that you can scale up quickly? If you want to go from some products, you're making 100 items, and then, if you need to make 2,000 items, yeah, you can go from 100 to 2,000 easily. Then you have volume flexibility. Product mix flexibility is basically you're making 2 of A, 3 of B, 3 quantities of product B and 2 of A. If need be, can you make 5A and 0B? Can you reallocate your resources? They can make A's. Can you make, that is product mix flexibility. You have the ability to produce variety of product in different combination. Competing on time. Excuse me. Competing on time. Let me clean this up. It looks ugly, right? Okay. Competing on time. You want fast delivery. You also, if possible, you want to have on-time delivery. But if you have a choice between fast and on time, let me give an example. You order some industrial product, something that, hey, is going to be delivered by company XYZ, and they say, well, we'll take 2 to 3 days for you to receive it. Versus company B, he said, it will come to you in 19 days. The guy who said 2 to 3 days, you place the order, 3 days are gone. He said, oh, I don't know if I can send it to you. My truck is not here, blah, blah, blah. It will come tomorrow. Maybe you get tomorrow. Next day you get it. Okay, maybe not. Maybe you get it 2 days later. But you get faster than the other guy. Which one will you prefer? Fast delivery? If you can get only one of these two, or on-time delivery. What do you think, guys?
Obviously, on-time delivery, I prefer.
On-time. Most middle-level managers, you ask them, they'll say, we want clarity. We want visibility, what is going to be happening when. Okay? If you just tell them randomly it will come tomorrow, day after tomorrow, they go crazy. Okay? So middle-level managers, you ask them, they will always say, we want on-time delivery. Of course, if we can get fast and on-time both, that would be great. But on-time delivery is preferred. Then the other dimensions of the other dimensions of competition is development speed. How quickly you can develop the product or specialized service. You want to make a bridge, let's say. Company A can develop the project, design, etc. in 9 months. Company B says will take 2 years. Some other company may say, well, we can do it in 3 months. For you see example, development speed, how quickly you can do it. And companies, if you are competing on fast development speed, obviously you will have to have the right kind of resources to achieve that. Okay, so that's development speed. And then finally, the competitive dimension is dependability. Can you be dependable to your customer? Can customer depend on you? Will you bend backwards to make sure that customer gets what customer wants in the right quantity at the right time? Because things happen. So these are the competitive priorities, main competitive priorities. Cost is important, but cost is usually not enough. You need something more. You want to have low cost, but not without other things. So again, I mean, companies have to decide. All right. Quick differences in pure manufacturing and pure service. This is pure, let me put it pure service. Although remember, I just said a few minutes ago that many people think that every company is a service company and they may have a facilitating good. If they have a physical good, when you buy something from Ford or Toyota, Toyota is in the business of providing service, but they have a physical good that helps them facilitate that service. That's what I was arguing, maybe an hour away. But we have to recognize, we still understand that there are some companies which are pure manufacturing. I mean, majority of the work that they do is manufacturing, and services where very little pure services, not very little manufacturing. Main difference, the output is tangible in manufacturing, something you can touch, feel, car, automobiles, television, whatever, you're making things. Service is experience. Something that you experience, intangible, okay? Customer contact in manufacturing is low, do you agree? Manufacturing, you go to a Toyota assembly line and say, hey, paint this car blue, this is the one I'm going to buy. No, right? Whereas the customer contact is high in typically, when you want to go get your haircut, are you there in the system? Are you interacting with the service provider? Are you telling them how you want your hair done? Okay, so customer contact is high. Input in manufacturing is very consistent. Service, the input is very inconsistent. If I go to get my haircut, and if, let's say Matt wants to go get his haircut, we will both have different requirement. We are the input. So the consistency is low. Every customer comes in, they have a different requirement. Okay. Labor content. What percentage of the product is direct labor cost? When you buy a car, What percentage of the car's total cost is direct labor content? What do you think? 40%, 50%, 10%? What number? 60%, 80%? When you buy a car, how much is labor cost? Make a guess. Could be wrong. That's okay. Go ahead.
So 25%.
25%? Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Now what he has done, he has thrown an anchor. Now people will be very afraid to move far away from his number. That's one of the biases. People have that bias. Anyway, it's about 8%. 1/3 of what your number.
Surprising.
Yeah, it is. Direct labor cost is very low. Direct labor cost is just going down. Partially because technology, etc., is being deployed so much, and they are trying to cut down that cost even further. Okay, so labor content in manufacturing tends to be low, but when you go to a lawyer and you get a bill for $600, most of the content, the labor content is high, right? It's only labor content. Okay, output tends to be very uniform. Service operation, I gave you haircut example. It's not, output is not uniform. If Rushi goes to get haircut versus if Preston goes to get haircut, they will get different haircuts. It's not going to be uniform, right? Okay. Opportunity to correct quality problems before delivery to customer. Manufacturing, although not a good approach, but they have the ability to catch a mistake before it is shipped. Do you agree with that? They made a car, they found out mistake at the final inspection, which is not a good idea. They should catch mistake earlier. The final stage mistake catching is like, it's too late. You've already spent so much time. Anyway, but at least that opportunity exists. What about haircut? They gave you a wrong haircut. You live with it. What they say is like a difference between good haircut and bad haircut is. What is the difference between good haircut and bad haircut? Anyone knows that? No, never heard of that. 1
Buzz
week.
cut?
Satisfaction of us.
Satisfaction. Now, the difference between good haircut and bad haircut is 1 week. 1 week later, the good haircut and bad haircut, they look the same. Okay, that's a joke. All right. Okay. By the way, more of these things. Response time. If something has gone wrong, by the time they find out manufacturing that their process needs improvement, they get to know it takes from customer feedback, it's long time. Service, very quick, very quick. Hey, hairstylist, your equipments are not good. They're not cutting my hair well. They'll know right now and replace or fix their shortcomings. Capital intensity, meaning how much money is needed. Manufacturing, a lot. Service, some of the service. I mean, this is again not true 100%. As I said, differences are beginning to fade away. But capital intensity, amount of money needed, is generally low in service. Of course, that's not always true. I can give you an example. If you were setting up a business, let's say you were Verizon, provide cell phone service, and you want to become a Verizon today, you know how much money you have to spend? A lot of money. Setting up all the towers and setting up, all the, selling network and all those kinds of things. Now, it's not cheap. So this is generally true, but not always. I can give you counter example for all of the things which I have said so far. Market, manufacturing, they can serve, generally diverse market. They can make cars in Mexico and sell it all over the world. Or they can make cars in China and sell it all over. Service tends to be local. You want to eat a burger, you have to still go to your neighborhood. They have not come up with the 3D printing of burger yet. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know about 3D printing of food, right? 3D printing, you guys know what 3D printing is. Everyone knows that. You know that they can print some food using 3D technology. They can build houses using 3D approach. Layer by layer by layer, they can build houses. Look it up on the internet when you get a chance. So 3D technology, they are also working on printing food, and they can make candies and they can make those kinds of things at this point. But who knows? 10 years from now, they might be, you want pizza, you call up, Papa John's, and Papa John say, okay, keep your printer ready. And they'll send something and, you start printing your pizza. Possible, right? Anyway, and then they can serve all over the world. But right now, they're still local. Papa John's, they can only serve the local area. Okay. Consumption of manufacturing is delayed because it takes time to come. Service is consumed and created concurrently, especially high contact service where you are there in the system. Of course, Amazon, you place an order, or some other company, you place an order. It may take 2, 3, 4 days. Sometimes they lie. They tell you it will come in 2 days and they take 7 days to send it with no apologies, right? I know that I ordered something and I needed it in a hurry. And they promised me it will arrive before Christmas, but it came 4 days after Christmas. And no apology, but simply like, your order is delayed. It will arrive on this date. That's it. Come on. But anyway, you understand all these things. And as I said, I can give you counter example for all of these things, but generally these statements are true. Okay, moving on. I already explained this to you that, most people, they say, hey, everyone exists in service. And some companies may have facilitating goods, some don't. Pure services won't have any facilitating good. Like, go to, classroom teaching. I don't have any facilitating good per se. All right. So I've explained that already. All right. Some of the new trends in operations management. We have moved away from local and national focus to global focus. And that has been possible because of reliable network communication. And biggest thing is transportation network. It's amazing what is going on with transportation network. Our ships carrying goods are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you guys know that both Panama Canal and Suez Canal, right? They both expanded. Panama Canal built new canal to accommodate these bigger ships. Okay, these ships are getting really big. I mean, massive. I was just on a cruise, just a week ago, and I think about 9th or 10th of January, I did go to Panama Canal, and my ship was like 2,300 people, 2,300 customer and about 1,000 employees. So it was a massive ship, but we were on the old canal. We went through the canal, that was an experience included in our cruise. It was called Panama Canal Cruise. We went to 9 different ports in Colombia and Costa Rica and Panama and where else did we go? Jamaica, Caracas, lots of different places. Anyway, so we went on a smaller, older canal, locks. You know the operation of how the locks work, right? Have you guys heard of how Panama Canal works, right? They put you in a lock. It's like, can I ask this? How much time do you have? I was going to have some fun. I don't know. Question: if you are going from Atlantic to Pacific through Panama Canal, are you going east or west? Anyone has an answer? You're going from Atlantic and you're going to Pacific. Are you going east or west? Come on. Someone should tell me the answer.
It should be the west.
Should be the west. And what if I tell you you're wrong?
I know.
You are okay. That's okay. You're shocked, but you're wrong. Okay. Let's make a map of US, a map of North America. I don't know. I can't make good maps. Let's say this is Panama. And this is South America. Okay. It feels like, let me raise them. Okay, you're really going this way. If you're going from Atlantic, does it look like North America, etc.? You know, South America. So you are, if you're going from Atlantic, you come here, get on, you know, go through the canal, go to the Gutan Lake here, and then come out. You're going from west to east. Okay, so you know it's little trivia question, but why I'm telling you all these things? I mean, you know, this was Panama Canal was built like 100 years ago, 110 years ago when it became operational. You know, first French went there and they wanted to make this canal. They wanted to make this canal because then you don't have to travel around South America, right? If something is coming from say China to east coast of USA, you don't have to go through the South America. This is very turbulent, very dangerous part of the ocean, and lots of ships have had, you know, accidents and disappearance and all kinds of things. You know, people have died and so on. So they usually want to avoid this area, this turbulence. So and of course time, how much time you can save. So they built this canal more than 100 years ago. And actually the Americans built this canal. Before that, French were trying to build a canal. They were all set up and they started and they couldn't finish it because they all, you know, they couldn't handle the local diseases, you know, the insect bites and malaria and, you know, all those kinds of, you know, waterborne diseases. And they just died. A lot of people died. So they gave up. It's the Americans who went there and built it. And so you should watch a video on the Panama Canal, or, you know, Panama Canal is very interesting. They have locks. You go in there, they, you know, and they raise you because you're coming from the ocean. They raise you, and then you go in a lake, and that lake is man-made. Gutan Lake is also a man-made lake. They built a lake, and that lake is filled with water from rain, etc., from around that area. You know, there's a lot of rains there, all the rivers and all those things. It's just like it was the largest lake, man-made lake. And every time they bring the ship up, and then it travels on the so you can't even see my hand, what I'm talking about. You know, when they bring you up, and then you travel, and then you cross, and then you go down. They have to lower you down in the Pacific Ocean, or vice versa. You understand? Two locks, move up, travel big distance in the lake, man-made lake. It's a huge lake, big lake. Last year they had some issues. I don't know whether you guys were reading this in Wall Street Journal or other places. They had big issue because there was lack of rain. So the water level was going down, and they were restricting number of ships that can pass through because lake was running out of water. Because every time they open the lock, some water has to go back in the ocean. So a lot of water has to be released for every ship that comes in and processed through. Okay. I can't explain this in like 10 seconds, but, you know, watch a video. Just do a YouTube search and see how beautiful that operation is. And they have built a bigger canal for bigger ships. But this time they have also some basins where they reserve, you know, send the water and then pump back that same water. So they have some water saving mechanism. They save maybe about 20 to 30% water. Because after all, you know, if there's not enough rain, that they can't have traffic going. And this year it looks like that they had good rain, so it's not an issue so far. Otherwise, people were waiting for days to cross. They were lining up, ships were lining up to cross. And that affects the supply chain, right? If the ship cannot come, it's affecting businesses. Okay, affecting retail, affecting manufacturing. They're waiting for components, whatever. So, so that transportation, I was talking about network. So all these things are making it possible. Transportation network is available for the global focus. Companies are moving away from large and batch manufacturing and shipment to basically nowadays mass customization, just in time, make only and produce only things when it is needed. Low bid purchasing, companies were focusing on finding the lowest bid provider. Now that approach has changed. Now they're looking for partnerships, collaborations, openness, willingness to work together. Lengthy product development in the past, as I told you already, that now they can do things faster. Car design at one time used to take 5 years, 6 years. Now they can design a brand new car in a year and a half. Their goal is to cut it down to 1 year because they are using, they have the technology, they have collaboration and other kinds of things available for them to make it happen. More, we'll talk about this in the course. Standardized product. So now they are moving towards mass customization. Job specialization was the thing that everyone did small part, and now they are valuing more employee input, problem solving, Kaizen, continuous improvement, lean, and workers are participating. They understand workers provide good value. More trends, service sector will grow and grow and grow. Employment, at least employment in service sector, because we will have nothing. Manufacturing will shrink. Agriculture will shrink. It's already shrinking. I mean, think about, let me ask you, as I said, 10,000 years ago, what did we do? We spent all our time hunting, gathering food, and on security, correct? Okay, everyone did that. Now, how many workers do you need? How many farmers do you need to feed 100 people? At least in the US. What do you think? Indirectly, I'm asking, what percentage of US population is engaged in farming? Can anyone guess? 10%, 20%, 40%, 1%?
I'd say 10%.
10%, because I threw that marker, right? I threw the anchor. No, it's more like 1.5%, Dylan. Only 1.5%. Real, because we have become so productive.
Huh.
Bigger, the corporate farming. Think about corporate farming, where they have 10,000 acre farm and they are using big machines and so on. So we have some small farmers, but really the big farmers with humongous farms are far more productive. Okay. So that leaves 99 of us, at least 98 of us, assuming that 0.5% of us are useless, they will not do anything. 1.5% in agriculture, 0.5% do nothing, good, people, and then 98%. What do we do? What do we do? So we have to do something, right? And that's when, all these different kinds of things are happening. We make movies, we develop internet, we become, TikToker, whatever is the term. TikToker is the term? TikToker, okay, TikToker, blah, 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 all these things. We become influencers. I mean, there are people who make living out of, creating these TikTok videos. Anyone here in this young group who's on TikTok and make money and do nothing else and make good wages on TikTok? No content creator. Okay. Anyway, so people are doing other kinds of things, and this trend will continue because we are going to become more and more manufacturing. We need fewer people. I gave you example of Allegheny Steel. They need so few people to produce the same amount of steel, and they will need fewer. And AI and surge in service productivity. Service productivity is also increasing. Computerization, all things are getting faster, easier. AI is scary, although I've been willing to accept the term AI now. Because earlier I said, no, there's nothing AI. I told you, right? Okay, global competition will keep on increasing. It will happen. Global competition cannot be stopped. Competition based on time, quality, technology, all these things are going to be the competitive priority. Flexibility. How flexible are your processes? And no longer economies of scale. Remember the term economies of scale, where the more you produce, the cost per unit goes down. Now we are in an era of economies of scope, where we have the ability to produce what customer wants. So different way of competing. Worker involvement, I already mentioned that. Supply chain, companies at one time were focusing on making their internal operation more and more productive, and remove all the fat and make it very competitive. Now they have squeezed out all that. So they say, okay, how do we gain more productivity? Well, partner organizations, the whole supply chain. So they are looking at the whole supply chain from earth to earth to squeeze out more productivity gains. Re-engineering, don't just make minor incremental improvement. Creative, completely, radically different way of thinking, approach to solve problem. That's happening. Environmental ethics and workforce diversity, all kinds of issues companies are addressing. We are also moving into something known as experience economy. That's where the money is. Experience economy is where the customer is paying money. Okay. Let me give you an example. I was watching a very good video on cocoa bean production. The cocoa bean farmers in, say, countries like Mali in Africa, okay, or Ivory Coast, where, how much they get for the beans that they produce per pound? Anyone can guess? Cocoa beans? Hardly anything. 20, 25 cents, 30 cents per pound. But that is commodity. You take the cocoa bean, chocolate powder, you make some chocolate powder, whatever. Now that is good. It's sold in boxes. You can make some more money. Think about coffee, the same idea. And now, instead of selling coffee in boxes, you are providing coffee in service. Now you have more opportunity to make money, because now you're providing service. And then you sell coffee in a 5-star restaurant, where a cup of coffee may cost you $20. That cat poop, I don't know what it's called, cat poop beans, coffee made out of cat poop. There's a particular term for this kind of coffee, I forget. Have you heard of this cat poop thing?
Yeah, I heard this, sir.
All right, go ahead. Who's this?
It's a sheet of a cat, and then it processed, and that is the most expensive in the world.
Yeah, it can cost you like $50 for a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
So, yeah. You're correct, Mohammed. So let me just give so what happened was these plantations for coffee bean, the workers in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in wherever they were, okay, workers were not allowed to have those beans. They were growing, but the workers, were never tasting it. But the fallen beans on the ground, the cat would go and swallow it, will eat it, and it will come out in its poop. And the workers were taking it out from there, and it was already, different chemical thing, whatever was happening, and making coffee out of those beans, which were like cat poops. And now, by the way, it's a trend. I mean, if you want to go to New York City and find this coffee and pay $50, all power to you. You should do that. Okay. And that's like a big thing. All right. So you're willing to pay a lot more for experience. You make less money as you move from commodity to customization. The customization increases. Opportunity for making money is here, not in commodity. So think about businesses where you create experience out of it. That's where you make money, not through commodity. Okay. All right. And oh, hey, I'm on the last slide. Good. You have to worry about in operations, so ethics or social responsibility. Those are critical things. Developing products that are safe, clean environment and safe environment for your employees, workplace safety, and your commitment to the community where you are. These are some of the things that you have to worry about. Think about these kinds of things. Okay, that completes our discussion. And thank you very much, guys. You were very good. Let me stop my recording. Pause recording.